I was thinking. Something that I've noticed frequently in arguments and debates is one of the participants attempting to strengthen their argument by making an appeal to human nature. I find it frustrating because quite often these people in their rhetorical example will demonstrate a complete lack of understanding of human nature. The people pushing forward these arguments tend to lack any awareness of human evolution. I want to deconstruct and criticize a couple of examples here. The first of these is a line from Hobbes which I often see recycled. To paraphrase, human life in the state of nature is nasty, brutish, and short. Now, we can excuse Hobbes for not understanding human evolution, being born in the 1500s. However, I have seen this line and paraphrases of this line crop up time and again in debates, literature, and online discourse. For the modern person to make this mistake is utterly inexcusable. So, how do we know that Hobbes is wrong with this statement? Well, we look at human biology. Human beings live very slowly. It takes us a good 2 decades to become fully developed, self-sufficient adults. We also live for a very long time. Humans don't start dying of old age until they're in their 70s. Humans are also quite slow to replace, both in terms of our growth rate, but also our birth rate. In the era before baby formula, it's 1 kid every other year. We're also generally born in litters of 1. Now, if we compare this to other animals, let's take a deer for instance. Deer achieve maturity at about a year and a half. They start dying of old age at about 13 or 14. They give birth to a litter every year of typically 2 or 3. Deer live very fast. By the time a deer is ready to die of old age, a human being hasn't even reached maturity. Using these metrics, a deer actually fares pretty well compared to most other animals on the planet. Wolves, for instance, have bigger litters and a shorter maximum lifespan. Wild rabbits start dying of old age after about 7 years, and they can have 30 kids a year. By the standards of almost every other animal on the planet, human beings live very slowly. Human beings are specifically not designed to live nasty, brutish, and short lives. The species would have gone extinct if we were. If we take another aspect of human biology, our great big powerful human brains, the thing that makes us human, those great big powerful brains come at a significant cost. We are some of the most energy inefficient animals on the planet. Your great big powerful brain burns about 500 calories a day. A quarter of your daily upkeep goes directly towards your brain. Between our slow growth rate and our great big powerful inefficient brains, there are a lot of calories wasted before a human being reaches maturity. This tells me that we are not designed to live a marginal existence. Human beings are designed to prosper. If starvation was as much a threat as some of these people make it out to be, surely human beings would be a lot more efficient. By looking at human biology, we can turn the line from Hobbes upside down. Human life in the state of nature is gentle, prosperous, and long. If we were designed to live nasty, brutish, and short lives, we would be more like deer and wolves. The second example I want to talk about today comes from the Zizek-Peterson debate. In his opening monologue, Peterson makes a statement which I find utterly baffling. He states that human beings are brought into the world starving and lonesome, and that civilization was developed in an attempt to ameliorate these issues. This is wrong to the point where I don't know how somebody can make this mistake. Quite to the contrary, we are brought into the world abundantly nourished and surrounded by unconditional love. On the starvation side, nature has ensured that we will not go hungry at our birth, providing the mother's body with the exclusive means to feed the baby. If the mother herself is starving during pregnancy, the baby will not be brought to term. The mother's body will say, "Look, we can't afford this, abort, abort," and the baby will be miscarried. On the lonesome side, we are delivered directly from the mother's body into the waiting hands of the doctor, midwife, nurse, aunt, sister, grandmother, father. A couple of days later, we're taken and shown to all of the grandparents, aunts, uncles, cousins, friends, associates. We inherit an abundancy of relationships from our parents, and all we have to do to maintain those relationships until our adulthood is show up to the family events and don't do anything egregious. Furthermore, we can't be born starving and lonesome. A newborn baby is entirely helpless. Those babies that were born starving and lonesome immediately died. The statement starving and lonesome is a dumb thing to say. Even frogs aren't born starving and lonesome. These issues themselves are already egregious, but the largest issue is the lack of awareness of evolution that it displays. It presents the idea that human society is a development of humans. It is not. Rather, human beings are a development of society. Society is a part of our biological evolution. It goes back long before any traceable human ancestor. Society predates primates. Now, we obviously live in a very different society from the pre-humans. Some of these changes the result of cycles of evolution, others deliberate alterations. None of these deliberate changes of society have been a response to the fundamental concerns presented, because those problems were solved millions of years ago. The point I'm driving at here is that it is absurd to remove a fundamental characteristic of human biology and state, wouldn't life be terrible without this? Let me give a simile. Human biology is designed to utilize oxygen in order to metabolize carbon. This is a fundamental element of animal biology. Because this is a fundamental part of biology, it would be absurd for me to state that the fundamental problem of human nature is that we live in an environment, an atmosphere consisting almost entirely of a corrosive gas. Our oxygen-rich environment would be a major problem if our biology wasn't built for it. But that problem was solved millions and millions of years ago. I want to make another point about human evolution, namely, that of all of those characteristics that we associate so strongly with being human, little to none of them are developments of humanity. Quite often I see a news article written for and by filthy casuals which states something to the effect of, "New evidence suggests that Neanderthals might have worn clothing. New evidence suggests that Homo erectus might have had language." The people presenting these perspectives are laboring under the false assumption that clothing and language are developments of humanity. They are not. They are developments of the pre-humans. If we look at humans, we don't have a lot of hair on our bodies. We lost that hair because millions of years ago some Australopithecus was playing with a deerskin and, oh, this is quite warm. I guess I'll sleep under this. Clothing was not developed by modern homo sapiens, but rather by hairy ape men. We look at human teeth. We don't have very big canines. You look at a chimpanzee, they got great big long canines for stabbing and slashing, whereas human beings have just got little canines for gripping into things and pulling meat off of bones. We developed these little canines because we had tools to replace them. We lost great big stabbing canines because the human chimpanzee common ancestor developed knives and spears. We didn't need big teeth anymore. Language. Chomsky's work shows that language is not a tool developed by humans, rather it is a part of our biology. Our brains are wired for language. For language to have joined into our evolutionary biology, it must therefore predate modern humans. And so the newspaper article comes up and says, oh, Homo erectus might have used language, or Homo erectus might have cooked their meals. Well, duh. To summarize, people making arguments about human nature, or humans in the state of nature, should take into consideration human biology and evolution. Just a thought.